Hello everyone, in this episode I'm going to tell you how I used AWS Honeycode to build a time reporting application and also a time approval application under 1 hour. So this is my very first experience with AWS Honeycode, and AWS Honeycode, as you might have heard, it's a very recently released service and you can build apps without having to do any programming. So I will take you through step by step how I built this application from start to finish. So if you are interested, make sure you watch till the end. Now before I jump into the implementation part, I will take you through a quick introduction to AWS Honeycode because that's a very new service. If you have some knowledge about spreadsheet, then you would love to build application with AWS Honeycode. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Hey, my name is Manoj, and in this channel I create videos to solve different problems when you start using AWS in your production projects. So if that sounds interesting to you, make sure you subscribe to my channel for more videos just like this.
So what is Amazon Honeycode, guys? It's a fully managed service from AWS that you can use to build 3-tier business applications. So you can build apps with data storage, business logics, and user interfaces with Amazon Honeycode. Now the apps that you build with Honeycode can be run on web and mobile. However, if you want it to run on mobile, you got to download the Honeycode app from Android or iOS app stores. Well, the best thing about Honeycode is that you don't have to code to build apps, and that's called no-code development. So you don't necessarily have to know any programming language, but what you need to know is a bit about spreadsheet formulas. With that knowledge, you can build real-time and personalized applications to manage different business workflows. Now there are really 3 steps to build an Honeycode apps. Number 1, you got to create the spreadsheet table. This is to store your application data. And in Honeycode, these spreadsheet tables act as database tables in normal applications. So that's the first step. Create your spreadsheet tables. And once you have your tables ready, then you can use Honeycode App Builder to build your application screens. So it's just a matter of drag and dropping UI components and attaching handler formulas. And finally, if you want to add automations to automate your manual tasks like, user notification and etc., you can use Honeycode automations. So this knowledge itself is enough to get started with Amazon Honeycode, because you will understand when you start building apps with Honeycode, these implementation steps are very self-explanatory. And hey, if you want to know more about it, I wrote a blog post related to this particular video, so check the link in the description. So what are we going to build today? We are going to build 2 applications that are interdependent. So one of that is a time reporting app and the other one is a time approval app. So here's the idea. Team members can use time reporting app to report time for a particular project. And the project leads can use the time approval app whether to approve or reject those requests. Now, both of these applications are available on mobile and web, and whenever a team member reports a time, it will automatically be notified to a project lead in real time. So that's the basic idea. So let's start building that.
Okay guys, so let's first go to www.honeycode.aws. So this is the website, and hit enter. So you can sign in, click sign in up here. If you don't have an account already, just go ahead and create one. So it's a simple wizard, and after that log in with that particular user. So this is the landing page. So it says my drive. So as you can see, I don't have any workbooks or apps created yet. So let's go ahead and create one. Just click create workbook up here. Then you get some choices. Either you can use a template. There are many templates right here. So if you want to know more about how Honeycode functionalities work, go ahead and explore this application. If not, just go and click start from scratch. Okay, so it's created. So let's go ahead and change this untitled workspace names to something else. So let me remove that untitled one and let's call it time logger, because we are going to create a time login application. They have created one table by default called table 1. You can look at it like if you go to table section right here on the left sidebar, table 1 is here. So let's rename that default table work logs, because we are going to create some work logs. Now when I look at the tables again, you can see it is being renamed. So now let's go ahead and add columns to our work logs table. So you can easily change this table name by double clicking onto it. So the first column is employee, the employee that record this work log. Second one is the project, which project that he is being part of. Third one, the date. Click plus icon, then it will add a new column. Here let's add a column name work log. This is where they will record the description of their work, and then in time, at what point they started working on this particular project, and then let's have another one for out time as well, what time they stopped working on this project. Finally, we'll have another column for status. Now the status column will be filled by the project leads. So what happens is whenever an employee records a time log or a work log, then there'll be a notification sent out to the project lead of the project that he has selected. Then that particular project lead will go ahead and approve or reject his time log. Okay, great. Now we need to set some data formats for these columns. So let's do that. I'll first click the column A. So make sure you have selected the entire column, and then you can click formats right here. So the format that we are going to assign for employee is contact. So on to your right side, you can see another sidebar appears. So click column format. At the bottom, you can find the format is contact. Select that. Then there's a display preference. So how do you want to show the information or the column data? So I will select this first name and the last name. So what this format does is it allows you to pick users from your workspace. So I'll go ahead and click apply. Then you should see a drop down appears right here. So if I click onto it, I can see two suggestions, Manoj Fernando and John Doe. So where does this John Doe guy came from? Well, I have added a new user into this workspace. So how would you do that? You can go to teams right here. It should show the team, in my case Manoj Fernando's team. You can go ahead and add a team member right here. Click at team member, type an email and assign his role. In this case I chose member for John Doe, and invite him. So when you click invite, an email will be sent out to that particular user. Then he has to log in. Now if he doesn't have an account, he has to create an account, and whenever he logs in, then he will be able to see your application if you have shared it. So I'll show you how to do that, how to share an application with another user. So let me cancel this out because I have already invited this user. And by the way, there's a 20 member limit for the basic plan. So if you want to add more users, go ahead and upgrade your plan. So now let's get back to our application by clicking right here, workspace, click onto that again. We were here, like we were editing the format of employee. So it is done. So let's go ahead and edit the next column, which is the project. Now when user is entering a time record, I want him or her to pick the project from a pick list or a drop down list. So I want to link this particular column to another project table where it can get the list of projects from. So there's an easy way of connecting tables, so that is through the wizard. So make sure you select the entire column and then click wizard. You can see there's a data modeling section right here. So here click create pick lists. Create pick list for which table? So I want to create pick list for work logs table. So select that. And for unique values in which column? Yeah, in project column. And then link data to a new table or an existing table. I don't have an existing table, so let's create a new table right away, and then click apply. That's it, and click go again. So it's running the wizard. So at the end of this wizard, it will create a new table, and it will also link that table to this column. But now if I go to table section again, you should see another table pops up, worklog underscore project. So this is the default name. So let's click here and let's change this default name. I'll take out the worklog underscore part. So it is project. Now in this table there's two columns, project and related work logs. And there's a filter, and if I click here, You can see there's 3 empty rows because I had 3 empty rows in the previous table. So let's go to tables again, go to work logs, and I'll remove these 3 rows. Now if I go to project, then I should see the related work log is 0. So let's go ahead and add a couple of projects. So the first project, project A, and then I click plus sign here and add another project. Let's call it project B. Now in this project table I want to add another column. So let's click plus sign here, and this column name is lead. So I want to make sure I capture the project lead. Alright, so then I highlight this column and let's set a data type for that, or the format for that. Click column format again, and this time also I'm going to select contact and apply. So I can pick the lead from the existing workspace users. Let me drag this column as my second column right here. Great. So for project A, let's pick project leads. I'll pick Manoj Fernando. For project B also, project lead is Manoj Fernando. Okay, great. So let's go back to our work logs table. So we were here, we were linking the project table to project column. Then let's go to the next column, date, and this time let's create another format for that. There's a default format for date, guys, right here. Just click that and you can choose the display preference. So I'll choose something like this and click apply. Then for work logs, click format. So work log is just description, some text. So I'll just select plain text here, apply, click in time. So this is about time. So time entries, there's a format called time, and the display preference, you can pick any display preference. So I'll pick this one. For out time also is the same, so it's time, and this one apply. And finally we have status column. Now just like project column, I want to get the status from a different table. So it's basically another pick list. When a project lead approves a particular time records, so he can just click onto the pick list and select whether to approve it or reject it. So how do we do that? The same way, click wizards and create pick lists, or create pick lists for, it's not the project table, it's the work logs, because our status column is in work logs. So click work logs. For unique values in which column? For status column, create a new table and click apply. So what is this? So it says the selected table contains only headers. So let's go ahead and create an empty row. So now it should go away, and click apply, click go. Okay, so now if I open tables again, I can see there's a new table, work logs underscore status. So let's rename it to status, and here we go. I have this empty column again captured, but that's fine. So let's add a couple of status. So the first status I want to add is approved. I'll add a new one, so that is rejected, and there's another status called pending. So now let's go back to our work logs table. So let's try to create some record in the table itself. I'll select the employee. Let's say John Doe is recording an time. If you click the drop down for project, you can pick the project. As you can see, all the columns are shown here, and I'll select, let's say, project A, and like you can add a date, work log, time, out time, and status as well. So if I click onto that, you can see 3 status from my status table is shown here. So I'll add pending here. As you can see, it's very easy to pick items from drop down list. So let me delete this row, I don't need it. Now that we have our 3 tables, so let's go ahead and create our very first application. So in Honeycode, we first create our tables. Now these are the ones that act as databases, and then we click build right here and then create tabs by clicking plus icon. So there are 2 options. I can either use app wizards or build our own. So let's use these 2 in this tutorial. So first I'll use the app wizard for creating our time reporting application, As you can see, there's a nice video. You can play it if you want. But what I want to choose is onto your right side, there's a source. So I can choose the table where I want to base my application on. All three tables shows up, but what I want to pick is this worklogs table, because through this app, a user should be able to create a worklog. So source is set to worklog table, that's great. So list screen name. Now through the wizard, it's going to create multiple screens. First is the list screen. So it's a list of items, and then there'll be a detail screen. That means if you click on a particular item in a list, it will show the detail about it. And then there'll be a form as well. The form is to create new item to the table. So those are the main screen that we'll be using in our time reporting application. So for list screens, let's change this worklogs name, the screen name, to time logs. That's the list of time logs that it will be shown here. And as you can see under the data section, it has added multiple columns, and I can add the status column as well. Click add and select status from the drop down. Then you will see the status column will also be appearing here. Here you go. And then I'll click next. And by the way, I'll click back again. So then I will go to the previous screen, time logs. I want to do one edit. I don't want to show the employee column and the workload column in the list here, because it's going to take a lot of real estate. So I'll remove employee column, and also I'll remove the workload column. As you can see, they have been disappearing from my screen. So that's great. So then I click next. Now I get into the work detail column, or the screen really. So let's change the name, this work detail to, let's say, details. So here I need to show all the columns. Then I click next. Now this is the form. So form is to add new entry, or the worklog entry to the worklog table. So let's change the screen name, new time log. And in this page, I'm going to hide the status column, because the status column will only be filled by a project lead, not the employee who is recording the time. And I will remove the employee field as well, because our application is smart enough to identify whoever the logged in user as the employee who is filling this form. So let's do the automation in just a bit. But these fields I think we need to have, like project date, workload, in time and out time. Okay, great. And then I click apply. And at the bottom of the screen, you can see there's a view app button. Let me click onto that. Then it will open my app in a separate tab. Great. So I have this list page right here. You see there's a search bar as well. And I don't see any result because I don't have any data in my table. But what I can do instead is I can click add, and then it will take me to the new time log. Let's create a sample one. I will select project A from the drop down. Then I have these controls as well, cool controls like just an inbuilt calendar. So let me pick a date and add a value. And I can pick the time as well. Click here, just select some sample time. And then I'll click done. So as soon as I click done, it is shown in my list page. So that means it has properly added to my table. So I can just verify that. Let me go to the other tab. And here we go. We have that record entered into my workload table, project A, and the date, some description, in and out time. But as you can see, there's no employee details or status, because we removed the status and the employee fields from the form itself, so it's not capturing any data for this. So what we essentially want is when a user adds a time record, then the employee should automatically be selected by the logged in user, whoever using the application. And the status, it should be set as pending, because team lead has not yet approved it. So let's automatically select those values. We can do so by using automations. So I will go to the builder again, and then I'll click worklogs app. Then it will open up the designer. There you go, it's the designer. Then you can see all the screen that the wizard has added. The new time log screen, detail screen, time logs, the list. And there are two additional screens as well, project details and status detail. Let me delete this because I don't really want to let users edit project details and status. So let me delete this one, and also I'll delete status detail as well. I'll delete this one as well. Okay, so we have these three tables. I'll select new time log, which is our form that we allow users to enter time, and I'll click done here. So it's a button, and when I click done, you can see the button properties opens. So there are three columns: data, display, and action. So the visibility is true. That means that this button is shown. I can set it to false, so it won't be shown in the screen. But what I really want to do is go to actions and click edit automation. So this is the event handler, right? Whenever someone click done, then whatever this automation will start running. So I can edit that automation. That will take me to the automation section. So it says start when clicked, like when this button click, it says add row to work logs table. So it is going to add rows to our work logs table. So it's very self-explanatory. So add row to which table? Work log. So then it is grabbing the data from the form and then write it to the corresponding column in the table. You can see it's grabbing $project. So this is the variable that is set to this particular data cell. Whatever the project the user picks will be stored in this variable. So it is taking that data from that variable and writes to the project column in the work logs table. And similarly, it is taking the variable, whatever the picked value for the date, and writing it to the date column, and the work log information to the work log column, so on and so forth. But as you can see, it is not adding anything to our status column or to our employee column. So let's automatically add some value. So let's go ahead and click add another. So I want to populate value for the employee. So value is basically the logged in user. Now there are some global variables that we can access from within our Honeycode application. For example, if we want to get the currently logged in user, what we can do is we can start by typing equal, then it will opens up a drop down, and this drop down contains variables, tables, and columns. So start typing sys, then you should see this as sys underscore user. So this is the currently logged in user. So click on that, then it will automatically complete the rest of the format, like $square brackets this user. So I take the data from this current user and then I write to which column. So it's basically employee column. So in the drop down I can just select it, or you can just type it employee as a value, and in the same time I'll click add another, and this time I need to populate value for status column. Now as you can remember, the status column is linked to the status table, so it's not just a string value that we should pass like this, pending really here, but instead a reference to the status table. Let me take this out. So in order to create a reference to a different table, we need to create a formula. Now there are a lot of formulas that Honeycode supports. There are spreadsheet formulas like default formulas, as well as some additional formulas added by Honeycode. So what I'm going to use here is something called find row. So in order to start my formula, I will hit equal, then I'll start typing find. You can see it is giving me suggestions. Here you go, the find row. Click it. It will tell me what parameters is it expecting. First I need to give the table name. In which table do I want to find a row? So it's a status table, right? So I will just type status, and I can again select it from the drop down, place a comma, and then the condition. So the condition that I want to have here is basically to select the pending row. So here's how we are going to write that. I will open some quotes, then type status, the table, and in that table I will access the status column, and then I will check the value. Let me add the percentage sign here, and as you can see, in most programming languages we can have a placeholder value here, and then I will pass the value that needs to replace this placeholder. So the value I need to replace this placeholder is pending. So essentially what happens is it will go to the status table and find the row where the status is pending, and click outside, and after it's found that reference, then write it to our status column. click status again as a value. So let's check that out. And by the way, if I again show you the status table, I can go to tables and go to status. You see there's a column name called status and a particular value where the status is pending. So it is the reference for this particular row will be passed down to the work log table. Okay, so let's go to work log table again. So I will remove that incomplete record that we earlier had, delete that table row. Let's go to the builder again, click the app, and let's view the app and see if those two columns get populated automatically. So let's click add. So as usual, let's add a project, date, work log, just something, time 8:30 a.m. so 3 p.m. click done, and there you go, the status pending has been automatically populated. That means I'm pretty sure if I go to tables and go to work logs, the employee is automatically being selected as well. Now this is perfect, so user doesn't have to fill any of this data now. Okay, so this is all what we have to do for our time reporting application. So what we are going to do next is to share this application with a teammate so that he can record time either using the web or through the mobile. So if he wants to use the mobile, he just have to download the Honeycode app for iOS or Android. But before any of that, we need to share this application with that teammate. So how do you do that? Now, as we have already shown, we have created another team member to our project or the workspace really. So here we go, the John Doe. So let's go ahead and share this application with John Doe. So I'll click Honeycode logo here. I will hover over this work log application, not the work log workspace, but the work log application, and I will go to the right side. Then there's this share button. So click share. Then I can add the team members. At the moment there's only one team member has access to this, so that is the owner or myself who just created the application. But now let's go ahead and search for John Doe. There you go, John Doe. Select it, then he's been added, so he's a regular app user. Likewise, if you have other team members, go ahead and add them as well. Then I'll click update. So that's it. Now it is shared with this particular John Doe user. So all the team members should receive an email that an app has been shared with them, so they can click the link and get to this login page. So let me log out from this particular user. I will click the name and then click the sign out, and I'll log in with John Doe user. So when I log in as John Doe, I can see work log application that is being shared with me. So as you remember, we didn't share the workspace, but we only shared the application. So I can't select, or I can click on to this workspace and view the workspace, you can see. But the application, of course, I can select it. And in the same time, just notice there's a notification. So this is the email that he will get really. Manoj Fernando has shared this application with you. So this is the in-app notification, as well as there will be email sent out to this user's email address. So now let's go ahead and click on to the application. That will open up the application. But look, I see Manoj Fernando's time log as well. Now this is not acceptable. The logged in user should see only his time logs. So even before entering a new time log, I will log out from this user, click John Doe and sign out, and log in with Manoj Fernando. And let's add personalizations. So I'll click the Honeycode logo again. This time I'll open the workspace, go to the builder and select the app. And when I hover over it, you can see it is selecting different components. And I want to select this list component. Click onto this, the list component. So I am in the time log screen. So this list component will render all the time logs. So it's like a repeater. I can see the data source is set to work log table. So that's all fine. So what I want you to focus is the personalization section. So this is where we add the column that is specific to the user. So what I'm going to do is I will click add column. So our specific user column is employee. So I'll select employee. So with this change, it will only show the time logs of the logged in user. So let's make sure it's the case. So I'll click view app. Now I'm logged in as Manoj Fernando. So I should still see the time log that I have previously logged. There you go. So I can see it. And I can also click here, then it will show the entire detail about that time log. Now I don't need this section like jump to item in time logs, so let's hide it. So I will go back to the designer and I will select the detail screen. So as you can see, so this is the section that render is. So I'll click the block, the whole block, and I'll go to the display section. So at the moment the visibility is true, so I highlight the true and then update it to false. Take out the params, just false. So with that change, now if I go back, this column should be hidden now. There you go, it's hidden. Now as you can see, all these fields are stacked down like one after the other. I want to do some UI customizations, so let me show you how to do that. So I'll go to the designer again. Now I hidden this top block, but these are the fields that falls under one another. I will rearrange this. So let me reduce these sizes. I can use the designer to drag and drop and adjust the size. I'll select the web here, so that will show the entire web view. Okay, now let's have a look how it looks like. That's much better. And I'll increase the size of employee and the project as well. Okay, now when I look at it, then this should be much bigger than the other text. So you can do more customizations as you wish by using the designer. And by the way guys, you can unlink the mobile and web, because right now whatever the changes that we do either of these screens will be reflected to the other one. As you can see in the mobile also, now it is in 2 columns. Now you can break this link and then style differently for mobile and web. So that's our first application. So that application is intended to report time. Now we need another application where the project leads can log in and then approve times. So I'll go ahead to the builder again. So right now I have worklogs app, click plus, and I will create another application, but this time I'm not using wizards. This time let's use build our own. So that will give me an empty screen, and I will change the app name, let's say time approvals. So this application name is time approvals. For screen name, I can just double click it and then start typing pending approvals. Now this screen will show all the time logs of the team members in different team where the logged in user is the project lead. So let's add a list here. So in order to add a list, so I can click plus add objects. Then it will give me some UI components. So in the UI components, I'm going to add a list. So let's say stacked list. I will click here. Then the source of this list is again the workload table, and these are the column that is shown here, and I want to add the status column as well, and I will click create. Now if you really think about the data source again, right now we have set the workload table, but we wouldn't want to show all the records in the workload table when a project lead logs in. So what we want to show is all the pending time logs of the team members where this currently logged in user is the project lead. So let's change the data source from table to a formula. So in Honeycodes, you can set the data sources either as a table or as a filter. A filter will filter some specific data using a formula for a table. Let's come here and I will remove the existing table, which is the workload. Instead, I'm going to create a filter. So I will type equal filter. Then I have to select the table. That is nothing but again the workloads table, comma, and the condition. Open double quotes and then type worklogs. So the condition has to be there's a project column in the workload table. So let's access that column, project column, and that project column is linked to the project table. So through that reference, I can access the lead. There you go. So it is giving me the auto suggestions as well. So from my worklogs table, I access the project column, and that project column is linked to the project table. So through that reference, I access the lead again, and this lead has to be the currently logged in user. So how do we get the currently logged in user? We have already used it, sys user, sys user. And I want to add one additional condition here as well. Out of those filtered time logs, I need to select only the pending ones. So what I'm going to do is I'll paste some space here and then type and space, then again work logs, open brackets, and the status equal. Then we have to match an string value. So I will open double quotes and type pending, close double quotes. So it should be like 3 quotes at the end, otherwise like you will see an error. So it should be 3 quotes at the end. So okay, so this will give me what I expect. It has to be pending, not pending. So let me click outside. So as I can already see, there's a one item automatically populated for me even in the design. That's great. I'm not going to add any personalization because as the project leads, I don't want to show anything of my records, because I want to show everyone else's, but those everyone else's should be from the teams that I lead. Now here also I'll go to the web view and do some UI customization. So let's have 2 by 2 columns here as well. Now the project lead is supposed to approve or reject those time requests. So let's add 2 buttons. I will click add objects here and I'll add a button. That button should be at the bottom, and let me add another button. Click again. So I drag and drop these 2 buttons close to each other, and let's name one button as approve, and let's add a background color to it, say green color, and the other button let's name as reject, and again add some kind of a red color. Okay, that's great. So let's view our second application, or the time approval application. It all looks good in the bigger screen. Okay, it looks nice. So I can click approve and reject, but nothing happens at the moment. So let's attach some automations. So when I click something, something should happen. So how can we do that? I will click approve button here. Then there's this action section. I click actions, click create an automation. So it says starts when the button is clicked. Then I click add action. Now these are very self-explanatory. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to overwrite a row, because I want to change the value of the status from pending to approve. So now we need to take the data from our status table and then put it to the work log table. So in the work log table there's a status column, and earlier we have referenced the pending status, but this time we have to reference the approved status. So let's use the same formula that we used earlier, the find row, and it is this status table, then status, so that is the column, and as you can remember, then we add our placeholder, close quotes, and the value that we are looking here is approved. Then it will create a reference to that particular row, and that row reference should be written to status. So make sure the table name is workload, because there are 2 status column in the workload table as well as in the status table. So make sure you select the workload status and as a value. So that should do that. So let's do the same for the reject button as well, but this time I will get a reference to the rejected row. So I'll click overwrite again, and then again I will find row from the status table, comma, and again this we are populating the condition status, then the placeholder rejected, and that reference should be set to again the same status column in the workload table. So that's it. So let's view our application, or let's do a refresh again here. So right now the status is pending, so I'll click approve. Now it says there's a data binding error. So let's delete whatever the status that we have earlier added, and let's hit equal again, and this time make sure the table is workloads and click then you should see work log and then the status. So let's see if this fixed the issue. Come back and then I'll approve again, and I think this time it just worked, but it's not showing any pending approvals because there's no pending approvals. That's right. But as I have noticed, my buttons are outside the list item, so let's add it inside the list item. So that's right. Yeah, so this is our list, so my buttons are outside it. So what I will do is I will just drag and drop it inside the list. I will in fact add a segment here, and I will drag and drop it inside the segment. Okay, this is great. Now everything is inside our list. Now I shouldn't see those two buttons. Now earlier I clicked approved, so let's see if that updates our table. So I'll go to work logs. So as you can see, the status is now approved. Now if I change it to pending again here, and I will go into the time approved, and it shows that again. So I can click reject and check if that also works. Let me go into my table and let's see, the status is now changed to rejected. Perfect. Now I think this all works. Now as a final step, let's add an automation. So whenever a team member reports a time, the corresponding project lead should be receiving an email. So when he opens up that email, there will be some information about that time record, and then there will be a link to the time approval application where he can easily click onto that and go ahead and either reject or approve that request. So how do we do that? So let's go back to our builder, and I will go to work logs application. So in the work logs, I will go to new time log. This is the form where we create time logs, and I will click done button. I will go to actions. I will click edit automation. So right now what this automation does is it will get the data from the form and then add it to the corresponding field in the table. And after that, I want to add another action. So after the data is persisted in the table, I will click add action. So this time I will add a notify action. So I'll click notify, and as you can see, it gives me another window. So it says sends an email to whom? I want to send it to the project lead. Now we can use formulas in all these fields as well. So I will put a equal sign, and then I will select the project. So make sure is the variable that is exposed from the new time log form. So it is whatever the variable that is added here. So I'll select this one, and I will put another bracket, and this time I will select the lead. So when the user picks a project from the drop down, we will reference it, and that reference will let us drill down to the lead. So that's what we need to specify here. So I'll go to the subject. Let's say new time entry from. So how do you get the user that who just logged the time request? So we can take it from the existing user who just logged into the application. So let's use this user variable again. So that should do it. And finally the message. So let's add a message. Let's say hi, again the project lead. Now by the way guys, it will show just hash value, but when you click onto that, up here it will show the corresponding formula. So just don't worry about this one. So again I will add the same formula here because I want to say hi, the project lead names, project and the lead. Okay, I'll place a space and put a comma, and then let's say team member colon, again it's the team member name. Let's add system user, and in the next line I'll leave a space and say has reported a new time, and then I will say project colon equal, then what project is this? Then I'll select the project variable from the new form, and I can access the project name if I say, do I have a name? The name is also project as I remember. Let me see. because as you can remember, if I go to tables again, and in the project table, the name of the project is also called project. How should I like rename it to name here, but that's all right. So let me go back to our work logs. Done column, again edit automation, email. So right now it is also shown as a value, so that's okay. I will hit enter. Then the date, so that is again colon date. Okay, this is the date. And finally, I want to add a link to the time approval application. So we can easily achieve that by using the next drop down. Attach a link to the app. It's very self-explanatory. I will select time approval. And as you can see, the link is added to the email body. Okay, great. So let's try that out. I will log out from the owner. So owner is Manoj Fernando. I logged out. And then I will log in with John Doe. So is the application I shared earlier, and I will click here. So right now it shows no results because Manoj Fernando's time logs is not shown here. It's showing only the John Doe's time records. So what I'm going to do is I will click add, and then I will, let's say, select a project B, date. Let me pick a date and edit value. Work on the CI/CD pipeline setup. In time at 30, out time, let's say 5, and I will click done. So the record is added. Now ideally Manoj Fernando should receive an email because Manoj Fernando is the project lead of project B. So let's check that. I will go to email. So as expected, this is the email that I received. So new time entry from John Doe. So this is dynamic. And then the Honeycode logo. So new time entry from John Doe. Hi Manoj Fernando. The team member John Doe has reported new time, project B, and the date. So then I can click go to app. So that will take me to the time approval app. So by the way guys, before you logged in, you need to log out from this previous application if you're using the same browser. Otherwise you are not properly getting logged in. So if you see any issues in logging in, just take a different browser if you have. Let's say I have Safari. So I'll take the copy to the link address that this button refers to. I'll go to Safari and paste that in. So I have to log in as the project lead. So then it automatically opens up the time approval application, and I can see the pending approval that John Doe had added. Then I can see the pending approval with the John Doe's time entry. Here we go. So I can approve it or reject it. So what do you guys think? Should we approve this? Yes, I approve it. So that's it guys. So this is what I want to show you in this demo. So I hope now you know how to create these type of workflow application very easily with AWS Honeycode. So that's it guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in another video.